You've been lied to your whole life. By teachers, by self-help books, by every guru who promised to fix you. But here's the truth. You are never broken. The real prison is believing you are. In the next few minutes, I'll show you why every attempt at self-improvement is secretly keeping you trapped. And once you see it, you'll never look at yourself the same way again. Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, no matter how many books you read, how many hours you meditate, how many habits you try to perfect, it's never enough? That voice inside whispers, something is still wrong with you. You wake up, look in the mirror, and despite all your progress, all you can see are cracks, flaws, imperfections. And you think, if only I fix this one more thing, then I'll finally be whole. But what if that thought itself, that constant self-diagnosis of brokenness, is the very thing that keeps you trapped? We live in a world obsessed with repair. Fix your body. Fix your mind. Fix your productivity. Fix your soul. Workshops, apps, courses, gurus, coaches, everywhere you look, the same message is repeated. You are not enough as you are. But if you buy my program, you will be. It's subtle. Sometimes it even dresses up as kindness. But beneath the smiles and encouragement, there's poison. The assumption that you are defective. And if you accept that assumption, you're already defeated. Think about it. When you say to yourself, I need to fix who I am, who is the I, and who is the self being fixed? It's like two people fighting inside one body. The judge and the judged. At work, you've felt this. You make a small mistake in a meeting, forget a point, stumble on a word, and instantly the inner critic strikes. You idiot. How could you mess that up? Everyone noticed. But tell me, who exactly is this you, screaming at you? And who is the you being insulted? Isn't it the same person? A divided self, waging a war that cannot be won. Alan Watts once said, you can't get rid of yourself. You can't jump out of your own skin. Yet that's what self-improvement culture tells you to do. To shed your natural self like an old snakeskin. To sculpt a better self that looks enlightened, calm, disciplined, flawless. But let me tell you a truth that will feel uncomfortable. There is no flawless self. There is no perfect version of you waiting at the end of some path. The more you chase it, the further you drift from reality. Picture this, you're at the gym. You've been dieting, training, tracking every calorie. But every time you look in the mirror, instead of strength, you see weakness. Instead of progress, you see failure. No matter how much you improve, the goalpost moves further away. That's not growth. That's slavery. Or imagine, in relationships. You're constantly thinking, if I was more confident, more attractive, more spiritual, then they'd love me. And so, you wear masks. You contort yourself. You try to fix what doesn't need fixing. Until one day, you realize, you're not even in a relationship. It's not you they love. It's the performance. Do you see the trap? Every attempt to fix yourself is built on the poisonous belief that you are broken. And as long as you carry that belief, you will always find new cracks to repair, new flaws to hate, new reasons to keep running from yourself. This is not growth. This is self-denial disguised as progress. Now pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, who told you that you were broken? Think back. A parent comparing you to a sibling, a teacher circling your mistakes in red, a boss telling you, not good enough, a friend laughing at your vulnerability. Slowly, piece by piece, you absorbed their words into your own voice. Until now, you no longer need their criticism. You carry it inside. A parasite in your mind. But here's the twist. You weren't born this way. No baby comes into the world thinking, I'm not enough. You learned this script. It was handed to you, conditioned into you, and now you repeat it over and over, like a broken record. Here's the revelation. What if there was nothing to fix? What if the cracks you hate are not flaws but fingerprints, unique marks of your existence? Society tells you to polish your edges, smooth your scars, hide your chaos. But think of a diamond. It's the cuts, the angles, the fractures inside, that make it shine. Without them, it's just a dull rock. Let's bring it back to real life. In the workplace, you obsess over productivity hacks. You buy planners, apps, systems. But the more you plan, the more guilty you feel when you fall behind. Why? Because the system was never built to free you. It was built to remind you you're failing. In your personal life, you scroll through Instagram, seeing everyone smiling, traveling, meditating by waterfalls. And you think, they've figured it out. I haven't. But you forget, they're just showing the mask. Behind every serene picture is someone else hiding their chaos. In your inner world, you try meditation. You sit in silence, telling yourself, clear the mind. Stop the thoughts. And then a thought comes. Another. Another. You get frustrated. You think you're failing. But you're not failing. You're human. The expectation was the illusion. And here is where we must confront the hardest truth. You cannot fix yourself. Not because you're hopeless, but because you were never broken. The very idea of fixing assumes there's a split. A higher self controlling a lower self. But the split is imaginary. It's language. It's culture. It's conditioning. You are not two enemies locked in combat. You are one, whole, mess. Beautiful. But wait, does this mean you stop growing? Does it mean you never change, never improve? No, it means you stop growing from self-hatred and start growing from acceptance. There's a difference. A tree grows because it is a tree, not because it hates being a seed. The caterpillar becomes a butterfly, not because it despises crawling, but because transformation is natural. Your growth, too, must come from love of self, not rejection of self. Imagine two workers in an office. The first says, I'm worthless until I achieve more. I'll prove my value by fixing all my weaknesses. The second says, I already have value. I'll build on it. I'll learn, I'll stretch, I'll expand, but not to erase myself. To express more of myself. Which worker thrives? Which one burns out? You've been told to be your own harshest critic. But what flips it? Be your own ally. Because, here's the paradox. The more you try to control life, the more it slips away. The more you fight your emotions, the stronger they return. The more you fix yourself, the more broken you feel. Like trying to lift yourself by your own hair. A logical impossibility. So what is the alternative? Acceptance. Not passive resignation. Not laziness. But radical, courageous acceptance. It means looking at your flaws and saying, yes, that's me. And I'm still whole. It means feeling anxiety before a presentation. And instead of saying, I shouldn't feel this, you whisper, of course, I feel this. I'm human. And in that acceptance, ironically, the anxiety softens. It means making a mistake at work. And instead of spiraling into shame, you admit it, learn from it, move on, without carrying the self-inflicted whip. It means crying at night, not hiding it, not apologizing for it, but recognizing that your tears are proof of your depth. Acceptance is not weakness. It's power. Silence becomes a weapon. Boundaries become shields. Imperfections become art. When you stop wasting energy, pretending to be flawless, you reclaim energy to actually live. But this is just the beginning. Because once you stop trying to fix yourself, you face the real confrontation. So let's confront the question head on. If you are not broken, then why have you spent your life trying to fix yourself? The answer is simple, but brutal. Because the world profits from your insecurity. Think about it. The beauty industry doesn't thrive on... It thrives on convincing you your body is a problem. The productivity industry doesn't thrive on contentment. It thrives on convincing you you're wasting time. The self-help industry doesn't thrive on wholeness. It thrives on convincing you that inner peace is always one book away, one seminar away, one guru away. If you woke up tomorrow and said, I am enough, exactly as I am, entire billion-dollar empires would collapse. So of course, they don't want you to believe it. Look at advertising. Every billboard, every pop-up, every sponsored video is whispering, "You're not good enough." But if you buy this, you will be. A wrinkle cream doesn't sell beauty. It sells fear of aging. A luxury car doesn't sell transportation. It sells the illusion of worth. A motivational coach doesn't sell wisdom. He sells the fantasy that he alone has the missing key to your happiness. And so you spend your days chasing ghosts. Not because you're broken, but because you were trained to believe you are. Let me give you an example. At work, you've been told, if you don't outperform, you'll fall behind. So you grind. You answer emails at midnight. You skip vacations. You wear stress like a badge of honor. But pause. Why do you grind so hard? Is it because you love your craft? Or because somewhere, deep down, you fear you're not enough without constant proof? That's not ambition. That's slavery in disguise. Or in relationships. You twist yourself into knots, trying to be good enough for someone. You dress the way they like. You agree when you want to disagree. You hide the messy parts of yourself because you fear rejection. But what happens then? You're no longer in a relationship. You're in a performance. And the role you're playing is killing you. Even in personal health. How many people work out, not from joy, but from disgust? Not to celebrate their bodies, but to punish them. They run until their knees ache. They starve until their energy collapses. And they tell themselves, it's discipline. But beneath it all is shame. Not love. Not vitality. Shame. Do you see the pattern? In every arena, work, love, health, the message is the same. You're not enough. You must fix yourself. And yet, the harder you try to fix, the deeper you dig the wound. Because the wound was never yours to begin with. It was planted in you. Conditioned into you. Repeated until you mistook it for truth. Alan Watts warned us about this illusion. He called it a trap of language. The split between the higher self and lower self. The saint inside you, whipping the sinner inside you. The boss inside you, disciplining the worker inside you. But here's the paradox. There is no boss. No saint. No higher judge pulling the strings. There is only you, whole. Messy. Alive. The division is a trick of culture. A mirage in the desert. And the more you chase it, the thirstier you become. Let me show you how this plays out in ordinary life. Scenario 1, the workplace illusion. A young professional spends years trying to fix her confidence. She reads books on public speaking, takes endless online courses, even hires a coach. But every time she's called to speak, she still trembles. Why? Because deep down, she believes trembling equals broken. But here's the truth. Trembling is human. Even seasoned leaders feel it. The difference is not the absence of fear. It's acceptance of it. Scenario to the relationship illusion. A man thinks, I'm too needy. I must fix it. So he suppresses his emotions. He hides his affection. He plays the game of being cool and detached. What happens? He becomes distant, resentful, unfulfilled. And relationships slip away. But what if neediness wasn't brokenness? What if it was simply the heart-craving connection? What if, instead of fixing it, he learned to own it with honesty? Imagine the freedom. Scenario 3, the spiritual illusion. A seeker spends years in meditation, chasing enlightenment like a trophy. Every thought becomes the enemy. Every distraction becomes failure. But here's the paradox. The more he fights his mind, the louder it screams. Because he's not meditating for peace, he's meditating to erase himself. And that, Watts would say, is not liberation. That's self-torture, dressed in robes. These illusions all share one root. The belief that you must be other than what you are. And here's the revolution. You don't. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a river. Wild, flowing, unpredictable. Now imagine someone stands by the bank and shouts, "This river is broken. It twists too much. It flows too fast. I must straighten it." They build dams, walls, channels. They force the water into order. And what happens? The river resists. It floods. It overflows. It destroys the very structures meant to control it. That's you. Your nature is the river. Your mind, your emotions, your flaws, they are the flow. And every time you try to fix yourself, you're building dams against life. But life will not be contained. It will burst through. So here's the revelation. Stop being the engineer of your river. Start being the swimmer. Let the currents carry you. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise. But wait, does acceptance mean chaos? Does it mean you stop improving, stop learning, stop striving? No, acceptance is not stagnation. It's transformation without self-hatred. Think of martial arts. A master doesn't fight force with force. He redirects it. He flows with it. That's acceptance. Using what is, instead of wasting energy, denying it. Now ask yourself, where in your life are you fighting the river? At work, do you demand constant perfection, beating yourself up for every small mistake? That's a dam. In relationships, do you hide your true feelings because you think vulnerability is weakness? That's a dam. In your inner life, do you suppress emotions, thinking they are signs of brokenness? That's a dam. And every dam you build creates pressure that will one day burst. So how do you break the cycle? By daring to tell yourself a radical truth. I am not broken. I am whole. And the moment you say it, your inner judge begins to tremble. Because its entire power depended on your silence. Here's a practice. Next time you feel anxiety at work, instead of saying, I must fix this, I must eliminate it, say, of course I feel anxious. This matters to me. Anxiety is proof of my care. Watch how the panic softens. Not because it vanished, but because you stopped resisting it. Next time you feel anger in a relationship, instead of saying, I must hide this, I must be calm, say, my anger is a signal. It shows my boundaries were crossed. Suddenly, anger becomes not shame, but guidance. Next time you feel sadness alone at night, instead of saying, I must fix this sadness, say, my sadness is a testament to love. I grieve because I cared. And suddenly, sadness is not the enemy. It's sacred. Acceptance does not erase pain, but it transforms it. Pain becomes teacher. Fear becomes compass. Imperfection becomes proof of life. And here's where power enters. Because when you no longer waste energy on endless self-repair, you free that energy for creation. For love, for presence, for life itself. You stop playing defense against yourself and start playing offense in the world. That's not weakness. That's freedom. So, let's ask the dangerous question. If you're not broken, why do you keep living as if you are? Why do you cling so tightly to your wounds? Why do you polish your scars like treasures, wearing them as proof that you need fixing? The truth is unsettling. Being broken gives you an identity. It gives you an excuse. It gives you a reason not to rise. Think about it. When you believe you're broken, you never have to risk failing, because you've already labeled yourself as failure. When you believe you're broken, you never have to face responsibility, because you can always blame your flaws, your past, your pain. When you believe you're broken, you don't have to face the terrifying freedom of being whole. Freedom is heavy. Wholeness is demanding. If nothing is wrong with you, then you have no excuse left. You have to live. You have to choose. You have to face the full weight of your power. And power is frightening. Picture this. A man says, I'm too anxious to chase my dream. But the dream keeps calling. And deep down, he knows. If he stopped hiding behind anxiety, he would have no excuse not to try. And if he tried and failed, that would shatter him. So it's safer to stay broken. To keep polishing the cage. To mistake the chains for comfort. Or think of someone who says, I can't have a healthy relationship because I'm too damaged. It sounds sad. It sounds honest. But sometimes, it's protection. Because if you believe you're too damaged, You never have to risk intimacy. You never have to face rejection. You never have to do the terrifying work of being seen. Truly seen. And so the brokenness becomes a shield. Let's make it even more personal. How often have you said, "I'll start when I fix this one thing. I'll write that book when I feel more confident. I'll launch that business when I fix myself. I'll pursue love when I'm more healed"? Do you see what's happening? You've turned fixing yourself into a lifelong delay button. And the delay feels safe. Because, as long as you're working on yourself, you don't have to face the real risks of life. It's comfortable, but it's a deadly comfort. Alan Watts once called it the backward law. The more you try to avoid discomfort, the more uncomfortable you become. The more you chase security, the more insecure you feel. And here, the more you cling to brokenness as your excuse, the more broken your life becomes. It's a loop, a trap, a quiet poison. Let's ground this in real-life stories. In the workplace, a woman keeps telling herself, "I can't lead a team until I fix my imposter syndrome." So she stays in the shadows. But here's the twist. Many leaders feel imposter syndrome. The difference is, they don't wait to fix it. They lead anyway. Her brokenness was never imposter syndrome. Her brokenness was waiting for permission. In relationships, a man says, "I can't love someone fully until I heal my past trauma." So he never opens his heart. But healing is not a destination. It's a lifelong process. Waiting until you are fully healed is like waiting until the ocean is still. It will never happen. And in the meantime, life passes by. In health, a person says, "I can't start working out until I feel motivated." So they wait, and wait, and wait. But motivation doesn't come before action. It comes after action. They never needed to fix their laziness. They needed to move through it. Here's the brutal revelation. Brokenness becomes a comfort zone. And comfort zones are prisons with invisible bars. Because as long as you stay broken, you never have to face the truth. That you are far more powerful than you've dared to admit. This is why people resist acceptance. It sounds beautiful on paper, but deep down, it terrifies them. Because acceptance means responsibility. Responsibility means choice. And choice means no more excuses. Let's be honest. It's easier to say, "I can't because I'm broken," than to say, "I won't because I'm afraid." It's easier to say, "I'm not ready yet," than to say, "I'm choosing delay." It's easier to wear the mask of a victim than to hold the sword of your own freedom. But here is the turning point. The moment of transformation. The day you stop saying, "I need to fix myself first," and start saying, "I will live as I am now." That's the day your chains begin to fall. Acceptance is not a bandage. It's not saying, "I'll never grow." It's saying, "I will grow by living, not by waiting." It's saying, "I will speak even if my voice trembles. I will love even if my heart aches. I will act even if my fear shouts." Because courage is not born from fixing yourself. It's born from living despite the cracks. Look around you. Every person you admire, the leaders, the creators, the lovers of life, do you think they were flawless when they began? No, they were trembling, doubting, imperfect. But they acted anyway. They didn't wait to fix their cracks. They built their lives with those cracks. And, in the end, it was the cracks that made their stories human, memorable, powerful. So let me ask you, what are you delaying right now? What dream, what risk, what action are you postponing under the excuse of fixing yourself? Because here's the truth, you will never feel fully ready. You will never reach a flawless version of yourself. And that's not a curse. It's freedom. It means you can start now. Exactly as you are. Imagine this shift. You walk into work, and instead of thinking, "I must fix my confidence before I speak up," you think, "My voice matters now, even if it shakes." You enter a relationship, and instead of thinking, "I must fix my flaws before I'm worthy of love," you think, "I am worthy now, flaws included." You chase your dream, and instead of thinking, "I must fix my fear before I act," you think, "Fear walks with me, but it does not own me." Do you see the difference? It's not about fixing. It's about freeing. So here's the call to action. Stop polishing your wounds. Stop rehearsing your excuses. Stop worshipping your brokenness like it's a god. You are not broken. You never were. And the longer you believe that lie, the more of your life slips through your fingers. The time has come, not to fix, not to heal, not to perfect, but to live, to act, to step into the battlefield of life exactly as you are. Messy, trembling, imperfect, but alive, whole, unstoppable. And when you do, you will discover something breathtaking, that the cracks you feared were flaws, are the very lines through which your light shines. Why do we keep trying to fix ourselves? Why do we chase endless improvement, flawless productivity, eternal calm? Because deep down, we've been tricked into believing something even more dangerous, that life can be controlled. We live in a culture of control. We control our schedules with calendars. We control our bodies with diets and apps. We control our emotions with therapy and medication. We control our images with filters and selfies. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Control is an illusion. Life is not a machine. It is not a chessboard where every move guarantees an outcome. Life is a storm, a river, a dance. And the more you try to force it into order, the more chaotic it becomes. Alan Watts once compared it to holding water in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. That's what your life is like. The more you try to control it, the more it escapes you. Look at your own experience. At work, you plan every detail of a project, micromanage every task, triple-check every email. And what happens? Deadlines shift. Colleagues quit. Markets change. Your control shatters in an instant. And instead of freedom, you're left with exhaustion. In relationships, you try to control your partner. What they do, who they see, how they love. And what happens? They suffocate. They pull away. Because love is not born from control. It dies from it. Even in your own mind, you try to control your emotions. I must not feel angry. I must not feel sad. I must always be positive. But the more you suppress, the louder those emotions roar back. Like a beach ball pushed underwater, they explode the moment you slip. Control is not power. It is prison. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine you are holding a kite in the wind. If you pull too hard, the string snaps. If you let go completely, the kite crashes. The secret is tension, balance, play. That's life. Not rigid control. Not total chaos. But dance with the wind. But here's the problem. Our culture worships control. Control is the currency of success. The disciplined worker. The perfect planner. The flawless influencer who has life figured out. We admire the illusion, but we never see the cracks beneath it. The sleepless nights. The panic attacks. The hidden addictions. Because control has a cost, your humanity. And this is where the obsession with fixing yourself is born. If life is chaotic and you believe chaos is bad, then of course you try to control it. And when you fail, you assume the problem is you. So you turn inward. You say, I must fix myself to regain control. Do you see the trap? The cycle feeds itself. The more you try to control, the more you feel broken. The more broken you feel, the more you try to fix. Round and round it goes. But here's the revelation. You don't need more control. You need surrender. Not surrender as weakness. Not giving up. But surrender as wisdom. Think of surfing. The surfer doesn't control the ocean. That would be absurd. He doesn't command the waves to rise or fall. He rides them. He flows with their rhythm. He accepts the chaos, and by doing so he finds freedom. That's the kind of surrender Watts spoke of. Not passivity, but intelligent alignment with reality. Let's ground this in everyday life. In the workplace, instead of micromanaging every detail, you learn to trust your team. You allow space for creativity, for mistakes, for surprise. And suddenly, productivity isn't forced. it flows. In relationships, instead of clinging with control, you set boundaries and then let go. You love not as possession, but as freedom. And suddenly, intimacy grows deeper. In your inner life, instead of trying to silence every thought, you observe them, like clouds drifting across the sky. You don't wrestle them, you let them pass. And suddenly, peace arises naturally. Control is the ego's addiction. Surrender is the soul's liberation. But let me be clear. Surrender does not mean chaos. It does not mean becoming a leaf blown aimlessly by the wind. It means recognizing what is yours to shape and what is not. It means acting with courage where you can, but releasing obsession where you can't. It means saying, I will work hard, but I will not worship productivity. I will love deeply, but I will not chain my partner. I will care for my body, but I will not punish it into perfection. That is surrender. That is power. Here's another metaphor. Life is jazz, not marching band. It's improvisation, not strict score. You can't predict every note. You can't script every move. But if you learn to flow with the rhythm, to bend with the changes, you create music. That's what acceptance feels like. That's what freedom tastes like. But the ego hates this. The ego wants control. Because control gives it the illusion of safety. And without safety, the ego trembles. So what do? You stop letting the ego drive. You let life drive. And you, instead of gripping the wheel until your hands bleed, become the passenger who actually looks out the window, who sees the scenery, who experiences the journey. Let's be brutally practical. Next time you're in a meeting and things go wrong, a client changes their mind, a deadline collapses, notice your instinct. It will scream, fix it, control it. But pause. Ask, what can I actually shape here? And what must I release? Suddenly, stress loosens. Your mind clears. Solutions arise you couldn't see before. Or in an argument with your partner. Your instinct is to control the outcome. To win. To prove you're right. But pause. Ask, do I want to be right, or do I want to connect? Suddenly, the fight softens. Control loses its grip. And love returns. Even in your personal goals. You set resolutions, timelines, benchmarks. And when life disrupts them, you spiral. But pause. Ask, is my worth tied to this rigid plan, or can I adapt? Suddenly, failure becomes feedback. Setbacks become redirection. Control dissolves, but progress continues. And here lies the final paradox. The moment you surrender control, you gain real power. Because real power was never about domination. It was about alignment. Alignment with truth. With nature. With the flow of existence itself. So let me ask you, where are you still gripping too tightly? Where are you still building dams in a river that was meant to flow? Where are you still mistaking control for strength, when in fact it's the very thing that weakens you? Here is your challenge. Choose one area of your life today. Work, love, inner self. And instead of controlling, practice surrender. Not passive waiting, not indifference, but active, courageous release. Say, I will show up fully. I will do my best. And then, I will let go of the outcome. Watch what happens. Watch how peace sneaks in through the cracks. Watch how energy returns to your body. Watch how life suddenly feels lighter. Because here's the truth you've been running from. Control is a cage. Surrender is the key. And once you step through that door, you will finally see you were never broken. You are only trying to hold the but we are still not finished. Because there is one more illusion to shatter. One more chain to break. It's not just about fixing yourself. It's not just about control. So here we are. At the heart of the labyrinth. We've asked why you feel broken. We've exposed the industries that profit from it. We've revealed the trap of control. But now we must face the most radical question of all. Who exactly is this you that needs fixing? Pause. Think. When you say, I'm not good enough, who is the I that speaks? And who is the me that listens? When you say, I hate myself, who is the hater? And who is the hated? It's as if two people live inside you, the judge, and the judge, the critic, and the victim. But here's the revelation. There aren't two people. There is only one. The split is an illusion. A trick of language. A cultural hallucination. Alan Watts called it out. Western culture trained us to believe in this division. The higher self disciplining the lower self. The soul battling the flesh. The rational mind taming the wild body. But it's a fiction. An illusion built on words. And yet, you've lived your entire life as if it were true. Let's make it concrete. In the workplace, you make a mistake. Immediately, your inner critic shouts, "You idiot." But who is talking, and who is listening? Isn't it both you? So what sense does it make to insult yourself, as if you were two people in combat? In relationships, you feel needy. You think, I must suppress this. I must act cool. But who is commanding, and who is obeying? Isn't it both you? So who exactly are you fighting? In personal growth, you sit to meditate. A thought arises. You think, shut up, mind. Be still. But isn't the voice commanding silence also just another thought? Isn't it all still you? Do you see the absurdity? You are chasing your own tail. It's like trying to bite your own teeth, or run away from your own shadow. Impossible. And yet, that's how most people live, as divided selves. Tormentors and tormented at once. So here's the radical truth. The you that needs fixing does not exist. Let that sink in. The voice in your head that whispers not enough. It's just a voice. A pattern. An echo of conditioning. Not reality. The critic. The judge. The fixer. They are not you. They are thoughts. And thoughts are clouds in the sky of your mind. Appearing, dissolving, passing. But you, the real you, are not the clouds. You are the sky. Vast. Spacious. Untouched by the storms that pass through. Psychology calls this the observing self. Philosophy calls it consciousness. Watts simply called it awareness. The one who sees, the one who notices, the one who is still here, no matter what thoughts scream inside. That is, you. And that self has never been broken. But here's the tragedy. Most people never discover this. They live and die as prisoners of their inner dialogue. They mistake the voice for themselves. They mistake the critic for truth. They spend their lives fixing phantoms. Think of it this way. Imagine you're sitting in a cinema. On the screen, a horror movie plays. You feel fear. Your heart races. Your palms sweat. But pause. Is the danger real? Is there a monster in the room? Or is it just light projected on a screen? Your mind works the same way. It projects stories. You feel them. You believe them. But they are not reality. The critic in your head is not the director of your life. It's just a bad movie playing on repeat. You don't need to fight it. You just need to remember, you are the one in the audience, not the one on the screen. Let's ground this with real examples. At work, your mind says, you're going to fail this presentation. The old you panics, tries to fix the fear. The awakened you smiles and says, just a thought. Not reality. And you present anyway. In relationships, your mind says, they'll leave you. You're not enough. The old you clings tighter, controls harder. The awakened you says, interesting story, but not truth. And you love freely. In personal life, your mind says, you'll never change. You're broken. The old you despairs, hunts for fixes. The awakened you says, that's just the movie again. And you walk forward in peace. The difference is not that the voice disappears. It won't. It's part of being human. The difference is that you stop confusing the voice with you. Here's another metaphor. You are the sky. Thoughts are clouds. Some are dark. Some are bright. Some stay long. Some drift quickly. But no cloud ever damages the sky. No storm can break it. The sky is vast enough to hold it all. That's you. Vast enough. Whole enough. Already complete. And here's where true transformation begins. Because once you see the critic as illusion, you no longer waste energy fighting it. You no longer waste decades fixing yourself. Instead, you reclaim that energy. You live. You create. You love. You rise. Not as a perfect self, but as a free one. So let me ask you, how much of your life has been spent obeying a phantom? How many dreams have you delayed because of a voice that isn't real? How many loves have you lost because you believed the critic instead of your heart? How much power have you surrendered to a fiction? Here is your confrontation. You are not the voice in your head. You are the awareness hearing it. And that awareness was never broken. Never flawed. Never in need of fixing. But we must go one step further. Because if you are not broken, if you are not the critic, if you are not in control, then what are you? What is the self, truly? That is the ultimate revelation. The final dismantling. The liberation beyond even identity. So we've come this far. We've torn down the lie of brokenness. We've exposed the trap of control. We've unmasked the inner critic. But now comes the deepest cut of all. The question that silences everything else. Who are you really? If you are not broken, if you are not your flaws, if you are not the critic in your head, if you are not even the self you've spent your life trying to fix, then who are you? Most people never dare ask this. They live and die, wrapped in the costume of identity. I am my job. I am my body. I am my successes. I am my failures. I am my trauma. But identity is not you. It's a mask. A story. A role you play. Think about it. The child you once were. Where is that self now? Gone. But you are still here. The teenager you were. Awkward, insecure, wild. Where is that self now? Gone. But you are still here. Even the adult you were 5 years ago, with different worries, different dreams, is gone. But you are still here. So who is this you that remains? Unchanged through every chapter. Alan Watts, drawing from Zen, from Taoism, from Vedanta, said it simply. The self you think you are. The story, the identity, the ego, is an illusion. Like the waves on the surface of the ocean, it rises and falls, shapes itself, dissolves again. But beneath the waves, the ocean remains. Vast. Deep. Silent. That ocean is you. Consciousness itself. But the tragedy is this. You've spent your whole life clinging to the waves. Clinging to roles. Clinging to labels. Clinging to stories. I'm successful. I'm a failure. I'm attractive. I'm ugly. I'm smart. I'm stupid. Up and down, high and low, forever tossed by the storm. Never realizing that you are not the wave. You are the ocean. This is what the mystics call ego death. But don't misunderstand, it's not the death of you. It's the death of who you thought you were. It's the realization that the self you've been trying to fix was never real to begin with. A phantom. A mask. A dream. And when that dream dissolves, freedom begins. Let's bring this to real life. At work, you've tied your identity to your career. When you succeed, you feel alive. When you fail, you feel worthless. But pause. If your job disappears tomorrow, do you disappear? Or is there still awareness, still life, still presence? In relationships, you've tied your identity to being the perfect partner. But when you fight, when flaws surface, you collapse into shame. But pause. Are you only the mask of perfection? Or are you the deeper presence that feels, that loves, that learns? In personal growth, you've tied your identity to the seeker. Always chasing the next book, the next course, the next breakthrough. But pause. If you stopped seeking, if you sat silently, without fixing, wouldn't you still be here? Whole. Identity is a costume. But you are the stage on which it is worn. Here's another metaphor. Imagine you are wearing a mask at a carnival. Everyone sees the mask. Some admire it. Some insult it. But none of them see your face beneath. Eventually, you forget to. You start to believe the mask is you. Until one day, you take it off. And you realize, you were never the mask. You were always the one wearing it. So here is the liberation. You are not the self that needs fixing. You are the awareness in which that self arises. You are not the story. You are the silence beneath it. You are not the mask. You are the face behind it. You are not the wave. You are the ocean. But I can hear your fear. If I'm not myself, if I'm not my identity, then who am I? What's left? And here's the paradox. When the false self dies, what remains is not nothing. It is everything. Presence. Freedom. Life itself. Look around. The tree outside your window. The breath in your lungs. The laughter of a stranger. The hum of the city. The stillness of the night. All of it is you. Not separate, not broken. Not in need of fixing. Life living itself through you, as you. This is why Watts said, you are the universe experiencing itself, not a fragment, not a flaw, not a broken machine to be repaired, but the whole, the infinite, manifesting in human form. So here is the final call to action. Stop trying to fix yourself. Stop clinging to control. Stop worshipping the critic. Stop mistaking the mask for your face. You are not broken. You are not even you in the way you think. You are something far greater, vaster, deep. And when you finally see this, when you finally drop the illusion, you will discover the truth that was here all along. You were never broken. You were never less. You were always whole, always enough, always free. So step into the world, not as a seeker, not as a fixer, not as a broken self trying to be healed, but as what you already are, life itself, dancing in human form. And remember this, the cracks you once feared are the very places where the light of the universe shines through you.